6:30, Greg.
Not according, all right.
Are you gonna argue with atomic time?
Yeah, I've got mine. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order, please. First item on the agenda is a roll call.
Schnelly,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Molzon,
Here.
Mar,
Here.
Glitch,
Here.
Bano,
Here.
Smithvet,
Here.
Holden,
Here.
Modjeski's out tonight.
Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes of February 2nd, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have two motions, and we have one second by somebody? He'll second it, okay.
Who was the first one?
Right there.
Patrick?
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, before we go on, item 7A, B, and C have been postponed. So if you're here to talk about La Villette at De Bergamot condos, we will not be discussing it this evening. You're welcome, I'm going to go on to here, if you're welcome to present any comments you want to make, however, tonight, as long as you're here. Okay? So the next item is community input, and at this time, part of the agenda allows members of the public to address the Plan Commission on items that are on or off the agenda. However, we cannot do any business with it. We can listen, we can ask questions, but we'll not do any motions, et cetera. So we have 3 minutes if you can take it that, okay? Thank you.
Well, I'll make this much shorter than my original plan.
Well, you got 3 minutes, so practice on. Maybe you can
I
condense it.
have lots of notes.
Okay.
So I don't know the exact reasoning.
Just have to give your name and.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have asked you for
Think
that.
I know that.
That was my fault, my bad.
Bridget Nettesheim, I am at 603 Prairie Grass Road. And I am speaking in relation to the La Villette development. Really my comments surround that there seems to be a bit of a discrepancy in the materials between, there was documents dated 2/3 that had much different bioretention plans, much different stormwater plans than what was part of the GDP. So it was a little confusing to figure out exactly what they were asking for and what would happen. So one comment I was making is just it would be nice to kind of get that cleared up a little bit. But the other one that I did want to comment on was I see that there is a plan now to divert water to the northeast corner potentially. And that, of course, is where my concern, as you are all aware, has been, given that that is one of the properties that, or my property is one of the ones that is affected by that. So I guess my request to the Planning Commission as well as Directors Cruz and Rao would be if there could be some clear definition of what exactly this easement would be. What does that mean for those properties that now I guess we don't back up to the park anymore? We would back up to, I assume, there. I don't know what that means exactly. As far as, you know, what responsibilities and maintenance and all of that goes into that. So it would be nice to have some of that cleared up, as well as maybe some definitions around what majority and small amounts mean. Just this week, on Monday, we had about a ½ inch of rain and some snow melt, and water was completely covering prairie grass all the way across the street near Augusta and just shooting out of the park. That's not an uncommon occurrence, and I'm a little concerned that any plan we have to divert water there just needs to be really well defined so that we're aware of exactly what's
Right.
shooting that way.
So I'll just provide a little comment and hopefully some reassurance. The whole reason I think it is being tabled and postponed is because of the exact same concerns you have. There's been some changes that they made to the design, and when we looked at that, we're going backwards. And from the report that we were given, it was not complete, did not have the data that we have. The one challenge that is with this site is that northeast corner is about 9 to 10 feet below the street level.
Yeah.
So I don't
Good
think it's
God.
possible that they can get 100% to go out to the street, but we're asking them to do a very large percent to go out to the street. And anything that would be discharged to that corner, we're actually requesting that they do grading into our park and along the backs of your lots on our property. That would create a swale that would not allow it to go into your property. So that's what we're working with them. We were there at the end of December, and now we're kind of back again. So, but that's why they saw that, they were working with us today, and they just kind of said, no, let's wait for another month and get this straightened out.
Okay.
So, yeah, we, along with, I mean, because we know that if we don't solve this now, it will be a recurring problem.
Right.
And it'll be a problem for Elise and I for many years.
And thank you for being here tonight, and apologize for making you come down here without discussing this with the developer. But just to clarify too, we will make sure that revisions to the plan we're 100% comfortable with before we're, scheduling another public hearing and getting this on the agenda, so that hopefully this doesn't happen again for, I think we might be on the third or fourth
Yeah.
postponement here. So thank you for your patience, and we appreciate your comments.
Sure.
It's a good thing you came down, 'cause obviously you're prepared.
Yeah, I did all this.
Yes, you did.
Highlight.
I can tell,
So
thank you.
many
Very
things.
good,
That's
thank you
good.
so much.
That's good.
That's wonderful. Okay.
But thank you
You're
for
welcome,
your
you're
time.
welcome, thank you. Moving on to item 5, communication miscellaneous business, there's none. Unfinished business, we're going to deal with continuing review and discussion, questions related to 2023 comprehensive plan and comprehensive outdoor recreation plan projects.
Thanks, Greg. So just a couple updates on our comp plan process, where we are right now with public participation. So this past Tuesday, the 28th, we had our focus group meetings, and thanks to a few of you that were there representing some other organizations that you're involved with. I think we had about 50 people total come through, a lot of folks we don't typically get to hear from. And I think a high point for me was in the afternoon we had our families group, and had a young mom who Oregon native and has a couple young children, and babysitter fell through and she wasn't sure she'd be able to come, but she brought them in anyway, and I grabbed some toys for my back seat, and we chased them around Village Hall, a couple toddlers that Leanne helped me with that. So that was a great opportunity to allow people to participate and try to just get in here and help out where we could. So a lot of good discussion, and looking forward to seeing that summary. We also have our parks survey, which opened up on Wednesday, yesterday, the 1st, and it'll be open through the 22nd. So there's a page on our village website. There's an orange bar right across the top that says 2023 comp plan, park plan updates. So if you click on that link, that'll have a link to all the info, the survey, upcoming dates and stuff. That's also on our Facebook. So encourage people to fill that out, and if you can share that with your networks or your neighbors or your family, it'd be great. We're, I think, getting a good response so far. And then next Thursday, week from tonight, in this room, we'll have our comp plan public kickoff workshop. So it'll be kind of a visioning workshop, a lot of high-level questions similar to what we'll go through tonight about goals and what's Oregon doing well, what are we missing, and getting some feedback again from the whole community. So everybody's invited to that. That's 6 to 8 p.m. next Thursday night on the 9th. And then I wanted to just take a few minutes if you all wanted to get back to the questions that Sonia presented at our joint meeting in February. Jeff, I think we start on page 25 of the packet. I think we had asked at the joint meeting too if anybody had any comments. It was a lot to digest all at that one meeting, but if anybody had any comments, to email me. I think I only heard from 1 or 2 of you, so just wanted to take a little bit of time, since we do have a lighter agenda today, to see if we want to dig into these a little bit. It's really important to get these high-level goals and objectives out early in the process before Vanderwall starts working on the draft, because it's harder to incorporate these big ideas as we get a little bit further into the weeds with the process. So I think we kind of covered, changes, which changes over the last decade. But maybe we can start where Jeff was there with questions 2 and 3. And there's no wrong answers or wrong ideas, but if anyone wants to just share anything, I'll certainly take notes and share that with Sonia, but just thought we could take a little time to revisit these questions. So these two are what are most pressing existing issues that we need to address, and what are top opportunities the village should consider or take advantage of over the next decade.
So I made a few notes that I'll share. With respect to question 2, what are the most pressing issues? From my perspective, I think we really need to work on increasing our business tax base. So opportunities for business. I look at Verona's business park, and it's just taken off like a rocket. And I look at our business park, and I just shake my head. Why hasn't it filled up? And why aren't we using more spend?
It's full except for one lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it just seems like we have so much more potential. I mean,
Oh, we do.
we're closer to Madison, and
We don't have the land. Our restriction really is land. So that's, I think, with your point, is
Yeah.
probably the pressing issue is we don't have the opportunities for businesses, because we get a lot of,
Right, except for if we're talking like large scale, manufacturing or those type of business, I
Yeah.
think.
but we do have opportunity east of 14.
Yeah,
we do, but
that's-
a landowner that has seemed kind of just wishy-washy in selling it, and it's a, excuse me, it's a or developing it, I guess I should say, and it's a significant capital investment for getting water and sewer utilities over to there, and the majority of unused land over there is very low and very wet. So
Not to
it's-
say that it can't
it's-
be done,
No, it
but
can
yeah.
be done. I mean, Oregon was built on swamp, so we can do it again.
So I guess
Well-
is there something that we can do to incentivize? I mean, how come other communities have the developable land and Oregon doesn't?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, part of it is annexation and having a willing, and I want to get back to Patrick too, is we're really just here to listen and not
Sorry.
go too much back and forth, but, on this. But, I mean, yeah, annexation, having landowners that are willing, and able to, either participate in development or sell to a developer. Over off of Cusick, there's the Keller family and their farm, but there's some family that still lives on the property and, would not like to see further development while they're living there on the property. So some of it's just a timing thing. There's TIF, that's involved too. So we certainly have TIF districts set up, and we can set up other TIF districts, but it's, I think it's a variety of factors. We do have great businesses here that actually are growing. We've heard from, Tacey interacting some of our big employers that they're running out of space. They actually have to be sending, office workers home every time they hire somebody new. Somebody else is going to work from home, and that's really not ideal for them. But there's no space to build something at the scale that they're talking about within current village limits. So it's a matter of figuring out where they can go, or is there a building that's not being used that we can, connect them with the landowner and they can rent space or something. So. But yeah, I agree. I mean, we've definitely seen here with comp plan amendments, a lot of transition from commercial to residential because people aren't willing or able to fill up commercial space, or some of our lots on Bergamot and North and CC, the townhomes. Those have sat for a long time, but, they're not building those townhomes yet. Because of construction prices and other things, those lots have been sitting, and we've lost some of those opportunities for developable, smaller commercial lots. But love to hear the rest of your notes too.
Well, I'll step back in a way to question 1, and I think when I look back at the last decades, I have to say I think we've made some nice progress.
Yeah.
We've done a lot with infill projects. There's more restaurants and amenities than there were 10 years ago. We've got better parks, better schools. We've got a new library at Village Hall coming. And we've got a director of community development. So I think we should feel good about what's happened in the past decade. But you know, as you look to the tax-based challenges, again, it's really, and as John was saying, how can we incentivize or make things happen for businesses? And I think part of my comment there goes into a later question, and it's, you know, discussion we recently had about home-based businesses and trying to make those opportunities easier, because we are changing as a society post-COVID with more people working from home and having the technology. And so anything we can do to reduce those hurdles, I think is going to help.
Thanks, Patrick.
One more comment, and that, you know, as we talk about land, and I know it's been a sticky issue before, but working with Fitchburg on that
Yeah.
northern corridor, there's opportunity there.
It's
Yeah.
promised land.
Right. I think we're hopeful too that there's been some change in city council and the board and then leadership at the school district to, you know, at least on that school property, opportunities to work together, see what else that might mean for working with Fitchburg, but hopefully make some progress there.
Is there any sense of timeline with the school?
I think the latest that I heard, the school's projected growth in terms of the district was a little bit slower than they had expected a couple of years ago. So I think generally the soonest, you know, they have to do a referendum before any facilities get built. And I think the soonest year that I'd heard that could probably be on would maybe be 28.
27, 28,
Yeah. So, and then obviously a school would probably be at least 2 years out of that before its doors open. But I think we're looking maybe in the next decade, with the Viridian development going in and that neighborhood being right there and more growth within Fitchburg, you know, that changes all the time. The school district has they work with MD Roffers Planning Consultancy, and I think it's maybe every 3-ish years they do an update to their projected growth. And it's really, I think I've told you guys about this, it's really interesting how they look at the price of the homes, the size of the homes, and what types of families and what age of families typically go into those homes. So if we have larger estate type homes, those tend to be people that are later in their career that maybe have older kids that are in high school or college versus young families that are coming in with, you know, a bunch of kids in elementary school. So they're always kind of looking at, is our growth more on the young family side or, you know, slightly older families, and do we need more room in our middle school versus high school? But yeah, that's something they're always looking at, but that's kind of the time frame, the latest that I'd heard.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? I think it's one of the main idea. I think a lot of us have the same thought process as far as the tax base and the
Yeah.
more industrial growth or commercial growth.
Yeah. Question 4, I guess, is a little bit more focused. What key areas would you like to see new development or redevelopment? I certainly have some ideas, but would love to hear your thoughts about any corridors or areas that you think we should really focus on, maybe looking at changing the future land use categories to foster some investment, redevelopment, or mix of uses.
There aren't a
Underutilized
whole lot of
here.
areas to redevelop around town. I mean, a lot of them have been sort of picked up already. The old Gary Willie site is being worked on. The only area it'd be nice to get the Ace Hardware project going, but I know that there's nothing that we can do.
Yeah.
The area that's back behind the Hy-Vee in there is sort of underutilized and unappreciated. But I mean, that's kind of it as far as areas. I will echo what other people on the commission have said about trying to generate some areas, and if that means that we have to do some expenditures to go under 14 to do the 138 corridor. I know that's outside of our hands, but that's something that I think that maybe we could encourage by working on the comp plan with that regard. It's tough to sort of do anything west because everything is so residential. You have to step sort of down. The vacant land that's adjacent to the current industrial park would be wonderful to get that under contract, but I understand the complications with that. That's a good economic base for the community. And we're landlocked to the north. It would be great if Fitchburg would just say it's outside of our developable interests, and you can take it over, but I know that's not gonna happen. So,
I'm hoping for someday a shared revenue agreement.
be nice.
Long-term shared revenue agreement. They're not getting any, appreciable taxes from it now, other than, and it seems to me to make sense that that might be something that would be a good meet in the middle type of things. We provide them services, and it really ends up being just kind of a cash cow for them, because they would have really no major commitment. But it would allow us to move in that direction.
I don't know, I was involved with the
You've
committee,
been here for,
but we were on a committee, I don't know how long ago it was,
Yeah.
10 years plus, so it had to be, that's probably way before that, with Fitchburg.
yeah,
And that was not a fruitful
Right.
discussion.
right. And that's where I'm hoping over time,
Different people.
different people, things will change, I think we need to really evaluate sites that we have in the village. Throwing one out there, 249 North Main Street. There's a piece of land that could easily be a taxable, developable property, that we paid money for. And so those are kind of things that, we need to be looking at. And other redevelopment sites, we've got the corner at Netherwood, across from, Walgreens.
Yeah, I also think about, some stretches of North Main Street across from Hy-Vee, kind of underutilized properties, a sea of parking over there with not a lot of activity. Market Street, Burr Oak, I think, has a lot of, I mean, it's very built out, but, how could it be, better utilized? But yeah, I think infill, we're running out of infill sites. We have seen a lot of progress, I think, on our TID for the southeast side of town. I mean, Park Street and Janesville Street and
Yep.
that side of town with Culver's, the hotel, the Rosewood Apartments, the Prairie Brook Apartments that Lakestone did, the new Quick Trip.
Bodie Howe.
Bodie Howe, and, the improvements at headquarters. I think that side of town looks so different even in the last 3 or 4 years. And a lot of those projects didn't even request TIF, so seeing a lot of growth over there, continue,
And
but, and,
to Patrick's comment, I think one of the things that we're evaluating and that hopefully would get support from board and the commission level, in addition to the businesses, home businesses, when communities, my experience with when communities start to become overpriced, for housing, people had to start having to get creative. And so then you end up with a lot of two-flat options, or people putting small studio apartments above garages and that type of stuff. And right now,
Yeah,
that's,
accessory dwelling units.
accessory dwellings that are ways that you can then keep things, I don't know, affordable within a community. Because I think that's one of the struggles we have right now. Veridian's gonna offer a nice alternative to that, but 210 lots, right? That'll go by pretty quick, so, we need to be able to, we've got a lot of beautiful, very high-end houses and very high-end lots, which are great for tax base, but there's a lot of, we're gonna have to take care of everybody. And we've made great strides with workforce housing and some senior housing, so.
we'll talk about this, I'm sure, when we get into the details too, but just with the land use categories, I'm curious what the planning commission thinks about. I'm hoping to kind of recommend that when we have, so for example, next month we have, the comp plan amendment to change from somebody that wanted, the duplexes in the Oregon Parks neighborhood, and now he wants to do a kind of a 4-unit over-under situation that would look like a duplex, a 2-story duplex in the front, but would actually have 4 units, and that's a comp plan amendment from 2-family residential to mixed residential. We just did one for, we did a comp plan amendment last year for the parcel just north of Beehive. That lot where they wanted to do two duplex buildings, and they decided, it would actually be easier to do one kind of a townhome attached, you know, with 4 units, and that was a whole comp plan amendment. So I feel like that's not a very efficient use of time and resources if it's the same number of units or it has the same kind of scale and not a huge impact on neighborhood in terms of traffic. I think we could maybe make our lives a lot easier by having more, you know, single family / low density residential, mid residential, and that's, you know, 2 to 4 units per lot or something. And then we've got, you know, maybe a couple categories beyond that. All of our apartment buildings are way above and beyond what our mixed residential multifamily zoning district allows. That's only 8 dwelling units an acre. So all of our apartments are doing planned development zoning. Maybe we should have a different zoning district that would actually capture these apartment buildings that we seem to be doing a couple of, you know, every few years. So just some thoughts. I guess we can wrap up and get moving on with the rest of the agenda, but anything, I guess when you think about Oregon in 10 to 20 years, what are some words that come to mind that I can pass forward, kind of our vision for where we'd like to be headed?
I'll say, I like what you said about parking lots. That kind of resonates with a lot of people my age. There's an inside joke about how, you know, Oregon is 85% parking lot, at least from the sidewalk side. Especially along like North Main. There's lots of parking, lots of driveways. But I think in an ideal world, people my age look forward and think of walkable, high density, mixed use buildings in a connected downtown. And I think that's obviously a lot easier said than done with all the developments already happening there. But if that can be incorporated for really long-term goals, I think it'd be a good thing.
And along that line, what I wrote down is leveraging our downtown assets. So, you know, we've made some key decisions with the village hall, the new village hall and the library. And so now we're sitting with this building. You've got the bicycle factory across the street, which all have some nice historic elements. They all need a lot of work. But what makes a downtown? And at least we still have the vestige of a downtown, unlike other communities nearby. And so leveraging those to get that pedestrian traffic and that interest, people wanting to come and spend time and money down here. So,
And almost an entire city block right across the street that where the senior center and former library and post office will be leveled
yeah,
soon, I hope.
yeah.
Jeff wants to push the button to blow them up.
And then I had one other note, become more pedestrian and bike friendly. And, you know, I think we've made good strides with that. At least, you know, your eyes are always on making sure that there's bike parking, you know, with any new development. Main Street now having a much safer corridor, but it's still challenging in this world to bike and walk when so many people are focused on their phones while they're driving, right? So just that we're always conscientious and trying to do that. And to me, that also includes keeping on the radar an efficient path to Madison. I still haven't given up on that dream. You know, I know we have the Western Bike Path, but I mean, to get to Madison, you got to go way out of the way. And
6 miles.
yeah, it's crazy. And, you know, we're a straight shot south. So I don't know what the magic answer is, but boy, I would love to see
you
a
know
bike
that-
path paralleling the tracks.
Do you know that 25 years ago we owned those railroads?
Oh, yeah, I went through that whole,
You were here for that?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's a net committee too.
But I just, you know, I know there's a lot of litigation and everything, but in Europe, you have paths next to bike,
I
next
agree.
to railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to keep working towards that.
Any other words, visions?
I think there's been a lot of things that have been going on in the last probably 4 to 5 years that are gonna play into how we move forward, COVID being one, and how we do business and how we live and interact. Affordable housing and the cost of living here in Dane County, essentially. How do we make it a place that is both attractive and cost-effective to live. You know, we have had a change over time of parking for the 100-year event.
For Black Friday.
Yeah,
right,
to parking that's more efficient. And I don't think that even with the advent of EVs and hybrids, you're gonna see the car go away. You're still gonna need to have those parking stalls. So I don't think that we can just say we don't need parking anymore. But I think that the parking needs are gonna change slightly. It would be nice to get public transportation. I know that that's already been started. I know that there's conversations that have been started about affordable housing. We've already had a conversation here about business. I think the last time we did this, we tried to say that we needed to have some kind of a business base, and I think we're still kind of beating that drum. So I've been kind of quiet, and that's just purely because I think that the core that we had originally is still good. I just think it needs to be tempered a little bit with time.
And that'll be, I think, you know, really the first draft we'll see is gonna be a red line version of the last plan, so we can really see what's changed and what needs to be changed that we missed.
All right.
Appreciate your comments.
Good.
Do you have
Can
anything
I
else?
make
And you
one
can-
more?
Absolutely.
I don't know if we're gonna cover this or not, but further down in the study, it asks the question, does the village currently have enough parks and rec opportunities?
Mhm.
And I don't know how to answer that. I think we have some great parks, but my answer to it was I need to see a study that compares us with other communities. So I don't know if that data is out there or can be aggregated, but that's something I would like to see is how do we compare to, you know, our surrounding communities?
Yeah, no, we actually started looking into that at the Parks Board meeting a couple weeks ago, but there's kind of a national standard of there's X number of acres per, 1,000 residents, and there's a park within this distance from every resident too, so we're within kind of what the normal range is. I think we're a little bit on the low side compared to our neighbors, but they'll have some data points, comparing some of our comparable communities and then, state average and a national average as well. That question is explored a little bit more deeply in the park survey. So again, another plug for that if you haven't done it. The online survey, it takes probably 5 or 10 minutes to do, but in terms of what's missing, what do we have enough of, what should be our top priorities moving forward in the next 5 years for parks.
All right, thank you. Move on to item 7, new business. No, excuse me, yes, move down farther. Down to 7D, Delta. Review and possible recommendation Village Board for final plat of the Greenview Preserve subdivision. Applicant is Viridian Homes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Brink. I'm the Director of Land Development for Viridian Homes. I spoke to you guys once early on in the process, but it's been a little bit since I've had a chance to come up. So I look forward to speaking with you guys tonight. Dan Day is with me, as well as Brian Munson. Just had a couple opening comments, and then we'll be here to answer your questions. As far as the process goes, we haven't changed anything since the preliminary plat. Everything is as it was previously. We feel the process is going very well. We're really looking forward to coming into these final stages here. Having really good conversations with city staff, working through the developers agreement. So that's all moving forward very well. And then more broadly, just from a market perspective, we always like to give a little update on that. Both January and February have been record months for us, which was somewhat of a surprise given how the last quarter of the year ended up. And it's not just for January or February, it's company-wide, or company history. It's a record sales month, both for January and February. So the product that we're providing is really being received well by the public at this time. So it's just kind of a general note that we wanted to pass along. But again, overall, the process is going very well. We're very excited, looking forward to getting going as soon as we can. And we're primarily here tonight to answer any questions that you might have at this time, unless Dan or Brian, you guys have anything else you wanted to lead off with at this time? Okay.
Elise, you had some more, I think, an update. There was some items that, from our village engineer that has come back, comments?
Yeah, so just a couple conditions. I had not received the letter from our village engineer by the time the packet went out to print, but I have received that at this point, and he's had no comments. There are a couple of easement notations that we just had a staff meeting with these guys last week and just noted that our village attorney wanted just a little bit more clarification on what some of the purpose of some of these easements were, and so we have some standard language that our attorney will be sending over to Dan, and Dan will be updating by the time we get it to the board on the 20th. There's a couple other processes that are kind of going on in the background which aren't directly tied to the plat, but the plat won't be recorded until there is a vacation of right-of-way for Mary Hill Drive. Jeff can kind of point that out. There's a little curve there where the road had been planned to go, so that road's getting straightened out a little bit, and there's just a legal process for vacating street right-of-way that's been started. So we will have just that item on your agenda for the April meeting, but that'll ultimately get to the board. And then there's also a former park, Outlot 6 of the 5th edition to Mary Hill, there that was dedicated as parkland for the Mary Hill 5th edition, but is now going to be partially used for park, for stormwater, and some lots, as well as some right-of-way. So we're kind of doing our checks and balances to make sure that parkland isn't just lost and it's accounted for either through parkland dedication or likely through fee in lieu of dedication, to make sure that the community in this neighborhood doesn't overall lose any parkland. So that process is kind of going alongside this vacation of right-of-way, but ultimately those things should be wrapped up and will be wrapped up before this plat is recorded. Jeff, is there anything else that I
Just some comments that we provided them last week, that if you see any kind of recommendation would be just contingent upon meeting the requirements of the planner, director of public works, and the village attorney. That way we can clean up some of the loose ends. On the surface and on the face, the plat doesn't change, other than a few notes here or there. No change of the right-of-ways or the lots or anything like that.
With the understanding that those corrections be made prior to the village board reviewing it and approving it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think also the only other thing really that changed from the preliminary plat was the stormwater areas are now noted as their own outlots, and then the park areas are their own outlots as well. So those have been delineated there on the plan.
Anybody have any questions? It appears then we need a motion to recommend the village board approval of final plat contingent upon the final review by the village engineer, which we have to see that yet. The director of public works, the village attorney,
And planner.
and planner.
So moved.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Either one of those
Gino
gentlemen?
and Smith back.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask a question on this property? And it's not, it has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Um, There is an easement off of like Oak, is it Oak? Not Oak
Oh,
Street.
yeah, the path.
Yeah.
It kind of bumps into that triangle piece of property that's the back of the,
Right here?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that,
How astute.
is there any thought from the village to maybe turn that into parkland so that people could get access to it from the other side?
Never thought of that. No, we were just talking about that today. No, we were,
Oh.
no, exactly. So this is an old right-of-way that was for Oak Street, and there was actually one across the street that was
Yeah.
vacated a while ago. Yeah,
Mary Hill.
Mary Hill, to Mary Hill Park.
Yeah. just
And,
trying-
and so this still exists, and so what we were talking about today is when this path goes in as part of Outlot 9, this park, that we would actually include a connecting path from there down to Richards Road. And that, there's also other connecting paths then further down into Mary Hill Park and farther south. So it's, and also a connection up here that is from this park and outlot, the stormwater outlet will have a path. We'll extend a path from there over to that bridge that's across the concrete ditch in Vineyard Park. So really creating some connectivity there. So yes, it's a great idea and I love it.
Glad he thought of it.
Exactly. It'll be in the minutes that he thought of it. I know that. It's good.
Gotta take credit. All right, thank you. Moving on then.
Yeah.
We gotta move on to the review and possible approval of a site plan for the Mini Tin Man, southeast corner of Janesville Street, Park Street, Village of Oregon right away. Applicant is the Village of Oregon. We may put them through this ringer here a little bit, so.
Exactly. We don't ever hold ourselves above not having to go through the same process everyone else does.
Move to deny.
Well,
No,
you'll have to deal with Randy on that one.
Yeah,
This has
Crossing the
been
wrong
something
guy
that's
here.
kind of been in the works and,
Yes.
but we are bringing it back because we do want to start
think it's
moving ahead on the construction of this, and especially with Culver's being open here in a couple weeks. This is kind of a entry piece that has always been thought of as a neat entry piece area, which is the junction there of Park Street and Janesville Street. Kind of a very natural area. We don't want a lot of stuff that's blocking there, but it's kind of always, I think, been a dream of some people, and I'm putting myself in that category because I've always thought it looked cool here. About an 18-foot tall, I believe, stainless steel, Tin Man replica. Welcome to Oregon. Like it or hate it, it's a neat little thing sticking up
It's
in
a
the
great
sky
idea.
every night,
It's a great idea. Yeah.
you can see it coming from the west and the east and the north, and it's not obtrusive. So, what you see in the site plan, very simple. Concrete foundation has been designed, and you can see it's pretty much, it'll probably just be a large mass foundation there. Simple kind of stamped concrete area around it with some benches, probably 2 benches. I don't think there'll be a ton of people out there, but it'd be nice just to have it. We're not planning on, there's a couple trees that are out there existing, but we're not planning on a ton of landscaping because we really don't want a lot of stuff out there. We want to keep maintenance fairly low as it is now. But I just think it'll be a nice, we'll have power to it. We have Cero Electric doing the lighting, same people that did the lighting on the Tin Man Tower downtown. And that's about it. You can kind of see, we'd hopefully be doing summer, probably spring, summer construction, pending approval. Trying to think if there's do you have any questions? This is, the lighting on this, I don't know if it'll be the twinkle lights in the center. I think it'll be more like just a lit up floodlight type
Yeah.
of situation.
Jeff, we should say, most of the funds are all privately raised.
Right. There's privately raised funds for this. Randy has done a ton of work to round that up, and we also do have funding for when the Park Street project went in. We borrowed $50,000 that was to go to streetscape improvements and stuff like this down here. So for trees, landscaping, we envisioned a piece like this and that.
And we had structural engineers do their thing for this
Yes.
too, right, Jeff?
Yeah, the
Yes.
foundation, it gets
Yeah.
obvious that the structural engineer did it, so.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Anybody have any questions about it? I want to just really acknowledge the fact that Randy did a wonderful job promoting this. So I have
Absolutely.
to thank him.
So
very
the
much.
same guy, if you've been seeing things on Facebook, doing this, the Culver Spoon, is the same guy who'll be doing the Tin Man. He's a local guy.
Oh,
but
yeah,
he's
you mean
not
as far
going
as
to
the
use a spoon as his
Huh?
model on this. He will
No.
not be using the spoon.
No, he won't be using the spoon on this.
Yes.
It'll be leaning up against the Tin Man. Question for you, is the landscape plan shows the sidewalk coming off the corner? It looks like the sidewalk on the site plan comes off of Janesville Street. Is it Janesville or is it the corner?
Janesville Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it, the landscape plan shows some like raised seating benches, or is it just?
That was just a very early concept that, I think that came from somebody out of the Culvers organization, just as a thought, you know, of what it would look like. The site plan is the site plan, the one that was done by Town and Country, and they did that under donation as well. Town and Country did.
Excellent.
I'm glad you said that there's a couple benches, because a lot of people might not sit there, but hopefully
Oh,
some
yeah.
will. I think it's kind of a cool spot.
Yeah.
It is.
I think so.
Thank you both for, you know, what you've done. I love the idea. I just have one concern, and it's graffiti. And so my question is, you know, and you can't avoid it anywhere. And I don't know what the answer is, but was there any discussion along the way about how you could discourage climbing on it?
You know, I'd be
I
very
think,
careful.
Jeff, one thought was, in one of the diagrams was a wall around it, but people just jump over
No.
that
Oh,
wall
sure.
pretty
Yeah,
easy. But some little deterrent.
So,
I think the advantage too is this is a pretty visible site.
Right.
And there's a
It's
lot
well
more
lit.
activity down there, and with like the new Quick Trips right across the street, Culver, so obviously there's gonna be hours where it'll be quieter, but
I didn't,
I feel like,
I haven't seen any real details on the structural part of it, I don't believe, but the columns can't be, I think it'd be pipe, you think? They wouldn't be,
I think it's it's angle iron.
it's angle iron?
Yeah, it's large, like 6x6 or 4x4.
The vertical?
4x4.
The vertical
angle.
pieces?
Yeah.
Keep them greased so nobody can
That's
see
what,
it.
yeah, I thought
not that
Vaseline
easy
or,
to climb it.
Vaseline or electricity.
I was gonna say, we could ask Cyril to just not ground it and put a.
There you-
Oh,
you guys are terrible.
Trickle charge
connection,
through
a
it.
trickle current on it. It's
You
enough to
guys.
keep the squirrels off.
Do you think it'll be lit all night?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll also discourage.
That'll help. So, very carefully here, I've always kind of said not to curse, or not to invite this, but when we repainted the Tin Man, I've always been amazed that it has
Nothing.
never happened.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that. Don't put that in the minutes.
Who's got it that's got the, whatever, to climb that baby?
Very few people, not even the trained people, but.
squirrels we've watched.
Yeah, there was a couple squirrels, but no, yeah, we've thought of that, and I don't know, short of ringing it with concertina wire and stuff, but I think
Let's
we just, yeah,
It's stainless steel. Let's
Yeah.
just see what happens.
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
So one comment I want to make is that this is certainly timely in conjunction with our public art we're going to be getting some public art
Yep.
for June. But Jeff and I think, Jeff, I can say we'll be coming back to the Plan Commission too. We have
Next week, or next
scoured
month.
the
Yep.
village. I can't remember how many sites we identified,
There's 26 sites.
26
my.
sites for
Yeah.
potential public art.
Well, the Public Art Committee's coming back with that, right?
But yeah,
Yes, yes. So that's gonna be the thing, we identified. We're not gonna have 26 sites at the get-go, but we did take a couple hours on last Friday to drive around and in public spaces find, what we felt were acceptable starting spots for art. And, the Public Art Committee will be working with, is it La Crosse? or
Eau Claire.
Eau Claire?
So there will be 5 new
Yeah.
sculptures,
This
plus
year.
some donated, I think there'll be some donated things
Yeah.
from artists that'll be coming up in June. But we'll be adding increasingly more and more each year.
Excellent.
We were just clearing out, the kids' stuff this last, and they've got some art pieces I'm gonna submit from kindergarten. It's not really weather tolerant, but
So I'll just mention, Jeff, we're also looking
back
at,
on track.
we have some traffic boxes, and Madison has done this.
Yeah.
Working with the art students in the local schools for some designs to actually wrap some of the traffic boxes.
Yeah, they
That
turn
we
out really
have.
cute, or they do
Yeah.
turn out pretty cute when you wrap them and
Good.
stuff, so.
Really?
But, we're talking
Yeah,
about
we're talking about
Tin Man tonight.
Yeah, so we need I suspect we're okay with this, so we need a motion to approve the site plan for the mini Tin Man as presented.
An enthusiastic motion to approve.
We'll make it more.
And an
We-
enthusiastic second.
All right. How about an enthusiastic, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Thank you again, Randy, for this, and for
And
Jeff, and Jeff,
Thank you.
thank you
Yep.
so much. Okay, move on to Item 7F, conceptual review of the site plan for the new U.S. Post Office, 696 Jefferson Street. Mr. Bertler, Supreme Structures.
Good evening. Dan Bertler, Supreme Structures, or DAJK. You guys challenged me to climb this tin man tonight.
No. I'm sorry I brought it up.
I'm sorry to bring it up, but it's now a challenge. Been working with U.S. Postal Service for about a year here. It's not an easy task. It's very, very slow, and we're almost to that point. So tonight I'm here for conceptual only. I'm yet to sign the final lease, and I did not want to go ahead and spend all the money into final engineering of plans and everything else at this point until I knew we were on the same page. So tonight, everything's laid out in front of you. We looked at bio, we looked at landscaping, turnaround, heavy-duty asphalt. I tried to take this plan and dress it up and add what I'd love to do to it. And dealing with the U.S. Postal Service, they don't like the wow. They like to be them. It's very interesting. And so here tonight, just in concept, this is what I'm working on, at least with them on. And everything else in front of you is exactly what they have in their possession. So tonight, I just love to get everyone's input. Does it fit? Does it look good? They are excited to move. I believe their lease expires in June of 2024.
Correct.
So we definitely have to keep the foot on the gas with them. They have contacted the governor for release of their current premises to relocate. They've done their it's all tied up in the federal side. But it appears that this is indeed the site that they chose. This is a site they want to be at, right across from the Village Hall. And they want to maintain to be here in the community as well as plan for long term. One of the items I should say is the size of the building, the parking, how many trucks, all was developed by the U.S. Postal Service. This wasn't me sitting behind the desk and saying this is what we should do.
And they have a very funny formula for how they figure out the size of their building. And if it says it has to be 5,500 square feet, it's not 5,501.
Really?
He actually had me cut 6 inches off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not,
Seriously?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta, I have to use a magnifier on this, composite lap siding.
It,
Again, we're just looking at the conceptual, but
it
it's,
would be all higher end architectural.
and that's my concern, only because of
Yeah.
the location.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be either cement board, smart board siding, all top line architectural.
Okay.
I will personally, or DAJK will be owning this premises and
Yeah.
doing lease back, so yes, it will be all high-end materials.
I will say the village has been the landlord for the post office for the last 40 years. We have found out recently, we actually built that building for them. Scott, you're agreeing to that? Tri-North built it, I think, very early on. Or somehow Tom Thayer was involved. But,
really?
and they've been a great tenant, but we just need the space, and that building is grossly undersized for them and getting very old.
I don't see anybody disagreeing with it, so.
I got a couple of comments though on the site plan. if
I knew you would, John, so
Yeah, I
go
know.
ahead.
The parking stalls that are directly off the curb cut, I've always struggled with people coming in and then people backing out of parking stalls in the same location. Is there some way that those two parking stalls could be made into an island and those two stalls could be moved further to the north or south, I'm sorry? So the curb cut that's furthest to the north
Correct?
drives straight in and there's two parking stalls. There's a whole bunch of parking stalls, but
Yep.
the two that are right there.
Yep.
Put an island there, take those two parking stalls and move them
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
And add a few
Yeah,
more. 'cause
absolutely.
Okay.
This
Yep.
is one business where I have no problem with adding parking stalls
Yep.
because it's transient nature. So that would be one comment. The other one is, I see that you've got an entrance that faces the highway, Jefferson.
Correct.
And there's another one that faces Alpine. Can you do something to sort of put a canopy over the one that faces Alpine, or, because I didn't
Their
even
main entrance is actually on,
Yeah,
and
and there's no flexibility to adjust that? Because it just, that was my first thing, is there some way to take that and move it to the corner and flip-flop those offices inside?
should saw my first rendering.
There's no entrance here, is there?
No, there's no entrance.
Blake, or
They
not
really
Blake.
went back to, this is the USPS Postal Service, this is our floor plan. If you're looking at, can I relocate those 2 parking spots, take away some of that island? Absolutely. Can I do some sort of focal point coming in and add some architectural treatment to that side? Absolutely.
And put an entrance on that side, on Alpine, or not?
I don't necessarily know if I can get away with the entrance, because if you go to the floor plan, all customer interaction is right on CC. And in that customer interaction, they have a certain specification that the whole ceiling has to be 5/8 tongue groove plywood. It's masonry block wall, it's,
They actually have requirements in, because I was involved very earlier in my career on the design of a post office. They have requirements in the ducting, so that they're treating it almost like a bank.
Yeah.
Like a public space for the boxes and that kind of stuff that people can get in anytime.
correct.
And then the rest of it is kind of semi-Fort Knox.
It was interesting, because I didn't realize there was a federal code beyond ADA code, and then there is a federal code beyond ADA code, which we have to adhere to, that the U.S. Postal Service adapted. So it was somewhat of a learning curve on my end to meet with the USPS on this. So I'm not quite sure if I can get an entrance there, because it really, they have an operation set. Can I dress up that corner if that's what you're looking for?
Well, I
I
guess
probably
what-
can.
What I was looking for is the vestibule, the entry to the building's a long way away from the parking.
Correct.
And I was wondering, is there some way maybe even to take that vestibule and push it to the corner so that it's not in the middle of the building, it's more in that northwest corner?
Okay. I can definitely make that change and send it to them
I mean,
and
it still comes
see what
into
they
the
can do.
lobby.
I see what you're doing.
Dan, yeah.
You wanna mention the
Yeah,
curb
Dan,
cut?
so I'm kind of curious, and I'd have to look on this, but are you aware of any restrictions on an entrance, an additional entrance
No,
here?
we actually looked into that quite some time ago, as long as it's a right in, right out.
Then it's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe you and I looked at that
Well, that's what I
about
remembered
7, 8
us
months
talking
ago.
about it, but, but I just want to make sure that there's no restrictions on that, but I, yeah.
Do you mind going to the floor plan real quick? Can I take a look at that?
I think it's page
Well, you want this
138.
one? Is that good enough or not?
Sure.
Or, here we go, here we go.
There you go.
Wonder if I can do this. I'm gonna rotate view. Okay. Okay, now, how's that? So this is the parking lot over here, this is the.
So,
front
John, are you
entrance.
looking at taking my vestibule, slide it all the way to that corner side?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, see,
that should be easy enough
well,
versus
the problem is
front
they-
and in
they-
the center.
They have the
just slide
security
it.
gate here. So
Well,
this,
on the site plan, there was an entrance that was labeled on the parking lot.
over here.
And if that's
It's
not
not
gonna
an
be the
entrance.
case, then can we at least take that vestibule and move it west so that you're not having to walk around both sides of the building?
Well,
But you said there's a security.
yeah, see, so this is considered their non-secure area for their post office
Oh,
boxes.
okay.
Right,
And then this is a security gate that
Yeah.
comes down and locks.
problem.
correct.
And so this is their service lobby, the desks, and so you have to kind of have this, and I'll reinforce that.
Yeah, you are
My
correct.
memory of how they work is everything kind of comes in and out on here, and
Yep.
these are all sorting areas and package areas, so it
That is
kind of
correct.
follows a certain flow. I remember when we worked on it, this is 30 years ago or 28 years ago, it was kind of a whole new thing, as far as, it was easier to land a man on the moon than to try to move a wall.
You'd have to almost extend that vestibule, rather than move it, just extend it.
Just
up
extend the
to-
vestibule all the way down.
Yeah.
Right.
And my intention is to try to get the entry closer to the parking lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you can do it, great. If not, we've made an attempt.
Okay. I definitely can look at it and I have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did one in Cottage Grove. It's work.
USPS is proven.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Efficient organization.
I will say, we did ask Dan a while ago to, a lot of people don't know, but when this was all platted and everything, there was this access easement back along here. And it was always a plan whether this would be a Casey's at one time had
Correct.
owned it, or whoever owned it before that, or that this would be an entrance, and is even planned for the dentist. They had planned to attach to this at some time too, so.
I did have a conversation with Chad, the dentist, and he was asking if we did extended that alleyway through, he'd love to interact with it and do additional parking back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this would probably be their main route for their trucks in
Correct.
and out, I would think. It kind of keeps their little white trucks all along here, correct, or along here?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I had a little different reaction to the parking. I agree with John, that curb cut where people are pulling in and people are backing out of stalls, I'm not too comfortable with that. But my thought was, did you look at flipping what would be the eastern double-loaded parking aisle to the west? My reaction was, is there enough client parking, customer parking on the west side where people are gonna pull in? And what are their needs? I saw the big line of all their trucks, but could that be a single loaded aisle on the eastern side of the building, push the building more to the east, and have a double aisle on the entry area?
I don't know if the lot will accommodate that with the landscaping on the east side. My grades.
Are you worried that there's not enough parking?
Yeah, I was like, when I go to the post office here, it's sometimes a challenge,
Well,
with the number of people coming in and out.
Really?
There's only street parking here, right?
There's
Yeah, it's
street
just
parking
really
here.
only
I
three
guess my biggest concern is our customers gonna know enough to drive around the back of the building for that additional parking.
How many parking spots? Is that about right what we got there?
4, 5,
About
6,
almost a dozen.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Gosh.
You could even eke out a few more if you wanted to.
I just can't, maybe you're right, but every time I've been down, I can't imagine more than about 6, 7 cars down there one time.
But your average person is only staying there for 5 minutes
5
or
minutes, 5, 10
15
minutes.
minutes.
Depends
tops.
how-
So I guess they've got staff parking for all the folks that are
That'd be
driving the
back.
trucks, right?
Everyone for the post office will be parked on the back, on the
Back.
east
Right.
side.
Yeah.
Postal vehicles and employees
Yep.
are parked back there.
Everything's
and
packed
leaves
on
the
the east
entire
side.
front lot for
Right. Mm-hmm.
for customers.
Yep.
It's probably fairly comparable to what's down here now.
But I can
I've been a
take what
daily
John,
user of post office for 20-some years with my PO box, and we probably have 7 or 8 stalls down there now that are in close proximity, and they turn over rapidly.
Okay.
One thing I did notice you were missing is a drive-up, drop-off box.
waiting on them to dictate exactly where it's gonna go.
But there will be one?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we make them install a cluster box unit? They make us do it for everyone else. That would be funny.
All right. Any more questions, comments?
I just think that if you flip those parking stalls to the south, you can add a couple more in there too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think you're right. If I add island, a couple more stalls in there, we'll add additional. And I'll have a conversation with them in reference to the vestibule. Like Eric said, if we can extend that vestibule down, make it a little bit more convenient,
Right.
we'll definitely look at that.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
and this is a great site for it. I was excited when I saw it because we're creating a new civic campus, so with the library, the village hall, and this.
Exactly.
So,
Good. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other new business? Public appearances? None. Status of developments and projects? Anything special happening?
You talking about New Village Hall?
New Village Hall, yeah.
Yeah, you're moving in, well, next month.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be, it should be completed, 95% by, or more by April 1st. That's what they're telling me. I'm taking that not to be an April Fool's joke. But we are planning on, our move-in week will probably be the week of the 9th through the 13th.
Okay.
So we'll probably be closed. We may still hold meetings, group meetings here for a couple weeks as we work out all the bugs with the audiovisual stuff and do training with OCA Media and everything like that. But we'll just, in the end, as long as all equipment can, all the electronic equipment can come in on time, so. But it's coming along. It's looking nice out there.
All right.
You will, we aren't going to keep the blue, so if anyone wants to
No, I
offer a
don't-
good price
Oh, no.
to the village for the blue batting here, we'd be willing to sell it too.
What are you gonna have?
Huh?
Are we gonna be elevated and look, you know?
We will not elevate you. No.
Didn't say for me,
No,
I
but
said,
the-
I said
actually-
us, I said us.
I
didn't
will
say
say
me.
this, that the front desk that will seat up to 10 or 11, I believe, is being made out of walnut by the Wood Cycle. And, huh?
The dais.
The dais, whatever you want to call it, but, yeah, I'm anticipating that to be a beautiful piece.
So that, I'm sorry, so that's the front of the.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be kind of a thing with two wings on it.
Oh, will be, okay, so it's not just a big, long.
No, it'll have
Good.
center area for the most important people.
Did Greg get a new gavel?
Yes. No, we're not. Yeah, we should have a new walnut gavel.
We'll have to wear white powdered wigs too?
Yes.
Oh, wait, never mind.
Yes, it'll be really nice.
Only a couple of us.
It is exciting to see it start to come together, and it's gonna be a neat, very nice facility. That'll
Yes, I
serve
believe
our
so.
residents for a very long time, and we'll be able to do it for a price that we never could have built for about half that cost or a third that cost.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Remember coming to this village hall the first time, been on the village board?
Hasn't changed much, has it?
Hasn't changed at all. That's almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, upcoming meetings, April 13th. April 13th, okay. Second, because of the election.
Right, and
May
also
4th.
again, as Jeff mentioned, stay tuned. We'll probably be meeting here, and it'll be during the chaos of our moving
Sure.
week, but we'll plan on having it here, and we'll let you know if that changes. for your-
Depends how busy, okay. Any other questions? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second by somebody? Second. Well, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.